Hello, I'm Hugh Coakley of the Guildford Dragon, and today we're in Guildford High Street, near to the Guildhall, and we have with us Councillor David Bilbe, Councillor for Guildford Borough Council for the Normandy Ward, and Lead Councillor for Enterprise and Economic Development. And we're here today to talk to Councillor Bilbe about the farmers market and the High Street issues in general. Firstly, David, welcome. Thank you for attending. David, could you tell us a little bit about your role as the lead councillor for enterprise and economic development?
Well, I'm lead councillor for economic development and parks and recreation. The main focus, I think, of today is about economic development in the borough. So I have the elected role to oversee that.
David, the farmers market is managed by Guildford Borough Council. Do you regard it as a success?
I really do, actually. I mean, the market's been here for 20 years now, Hugh, and we get on average 60 stalls. They peak and go around that number, and I think people really do value it, and I think it's a real success for Guildford.
How do you see it developing over the next few years?
Again, good question. Well, what we've got to balance is the traditional nature of why the market's here, which is really to promote local enterprise, local production, local goods. But we also have to keep an eye open to people with innovative ideas and new things they want to sell. So we want to promote the market, but not to move away from our core, ethos and our core values.
But it's been going for 20 years in pretty much the same format. Do you see it as something that needs to change at all, or develop?
Not dramatically. I think, we say the format's the same. We've seen goods come and go. We have different mix of stalls now. We have a lot of home-produced things, locally produced things. So I think the mix changes. So I think the market moves forward. You've always got people coming and going. You've got some stalls who've been here for a lot longer than others.
Okay. So footfall has been dropping in the town centre. The latest figures from Experience Guildford show a drop of something like 7% in a year. So 7% overall. It's not a blip, it's a trend.
Mm-hmm.
What's your view on the drop of number of people visiting Guildford town centre?
Well, again, it's a tricky one. I mean, there's a national trend of drop of footfall. What we've got to do here is we've got to make sure as a council we encourage people, make the experience of coming to Guildford as full and as convenient as possible. So parking is part of that, clean air quality, what they experience when they get here is important. So we've got to keep an eye on making sure that the infrastructure is right to welcome people to Guildford. We can't legislate for what people buy, but we are concerned, like everybody else, about the fall of footfall. And we do work closely with BID, Experience Guildford, in terms of what we can do to make sure that we enhance that as far as we can.
At the same time, there is a reduction in footfall. So that's a fact. If we continue doing the same thing again and again, we're going to continue with the same answer.
Yeah. Well, a good thing. I mean, we've got to keep our eye open to do new things. I mean, the biggest new thing that's going to happen in the foreseeable, of course, will be North Street redevelopment. That will be redeveloped. I can't say off the top of my head how much of that is going to be retail, office, accommodation. We haven't seen the final plans on that. But I think as long as we're developing, as long as we're doing new things and taking on board new ideas, then that will do a lot to help the vibrancy of Guildford.
Okay. So Guildford Town Centre is apparently doing better than many other UK towns, but shops are closing. You have Mothercare, Maplin's, the Edinburgh Wool Mill threatening to close if negotiations on its rent don't come down, and Debenhams have closed the basement floor. So there's real pressure on retail here too. Can the Borough Council do anything to reduce this pressure?
Well, what we can do, we can't legislate for large companies and their business plans. We cannot do that. We don't run Debenhams, we don't run Mothercare. But what we can do is make sure that as far as possible, the footfall and the people want to come to Guildford, so the spending power is there. And we have to remember that Guildford is a high spending area generally. So what we're actually seeing is we're seeing smaller and niche type shops opening in Guildford. So the big ones we can't legislate, but we have to try and encourage people to want to come to Guildford to open their business because the spending power is there. And that goes back to the infrastructure, the parking, the whole experience of come to Guildford.
So for more niche independent stores, there needs to be some sort of incentive, one would imagine. Other councils are Braintree District Council, for instance, as a recent example, have actually announced cuts to business rates. Are Guildford Borough Council considering this as well?
Well, I'm not sure about Braintree's setup, but remember, we're not a unified council here. We've got the county council, we've got government, county council and borough council. We have no discretion, very limited discretion. We've had no discretion in terms of setting of business rates. What we can do from time to time is use discretionary measures to help people. Now, I don't want to get into details on that, but that's where we can perhaps do some things, but we have no discretion as the borough council to set the business rate.
So if an independent is setting up or an independent is struggling, they should go to the council and to ask for a discretion?
There's always a discussion. I would say our philosophy, Hugh, is to be as welcoming and as open as possible to people. We'd rather listen and talk, even if we can't find the solution. And if we can, we'll try and find some help or some solution where we can.
Okay. A final question. What stalls are attracting you here in the farmers market today?
All of them. All of them. I love the bread, I love the meat, I love the fish. I think the thing about that, and that's not a light-hearted comment, when you come here and walk up and down, you sort of think, well, I need this, but you end up with a full bag because things catch your eye. So it's a great mix.
Councillor Bilbe, thank you.
You're most welcome.